And now, coming to you live from the decentralized studios of Satoshi Crypto Research Labs, it's Blockchain After Dark.
And now, with stars over our heads, under the night lights of the city streets, this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Blockchain After Dark. You may have noticed that the stock market is down, or that various indices are down. The Dow Jones, NASDAQ, Standard & Poor's, they're fighting. They're fighting like mad, I tell you. They're standing in the ring, taking their licks, and trying to show the world that the Fed interest rate controlled economy upon which they make or break their years is still a great plan. It's still going to work. It's still going to run into the future for years and years and years. You're going to be able to buy stocks and bonds and commodities with centralized fiat currency on markets that exist only by fiat decisions and centralized interest rates and hyperinflation under control. All that. It's going to just keep on rolling fine, right? Nothing's going to change. And people are saying, well, if all that money is disappearing from the stock market, obviously it's not going to be it's not going to be around to go anywhere like crypto. People are going to put it in safe things like gold and silver and oil. And the dollar. Yeah, you really believe that? How much does your dollar buy you today versus 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Right? I mean, since the tech bubble of the 90s and a dot-com bubble that followed, that exploded it, around 2001, 2002. Since then, how much has your dollar devalued? If you've been working even just a couple decades, how much have your salary increases even made a dent towards the cost of living increases? If you're like most people, maybe the last 10 years you've seen your salaries go up a little bit. It's been a bit of a comfort. If you're like middle class or upper class, I guess in the US, or maybe even some lower class jobs, blue collar, white collar, doesn't really matter. Salaries have gone up, right, over the last 10 years, sure. But cost of living on things like food, medicine, rent, mortgages, cars, car loans, tuition, college tuition, all those things have shot up like by factors, by multiples, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Well, if you're only earning 10, 20, 30% more than you earned 10 years ago, maybe 50% more, maybe you've even doubled it, but your cost of living has gone up 3, 4, 5 times on average, how exactly are you getting ahead? How exactly is this great dollar working for you? How exactly are these wonderful stock markets working for your interest? You're just getting more worthless dollars. Yes, they're not worthless yet, sure. It's still the leading economy. Oil is still traded in it. It's still the world reserve currency, as everyone likes to say when they are defending the dollar. Sure. But at the same time, you're starting to see cracks in that monopoly on being the reserve currency for petrodollars. Because you're starting to see other countries, Venezuela, for example, whether it's political theater or not, barking up a tree saying they will accept certain cryptocurrencies for petrol sales, oil sales. Russia saying it will develop its own currency for trading oil, or maybe even begin to use its own currency or the Chinese currency to trade oil. China, right, saying it wants to dominate the world. They clearly want to be the superpower. They want to beat the United States at everything. They're spending their time and their energy to try to build the military capability to do that, even if they're a decade or two behind the US. That's not so long, right? A decade or two ago, we were in the dot-com bubble. That's not a long time ago. Two decades ago. A decade ago, we were in the 2008 housing crash bubble. Right? Or housing bubble crash? Yeah, housing bubble crash. And that Great Recession, right? So we've had two massive recessions in the last 20 years. And the last one was fairly worse than the one prior. And the next one, which seems like it's going to happen any day now, well, you could argue it's already underway since a couple months, does not look like it's going to be better than the last one. In fact, it looks like it could be by orders of magnitude worse. How much worse? You know, on the extreme end, you're hearing things like it could be as bad as the Great Depression of 1929, 1930, 1931, 32, etc. And you could say, well, we're in a very different world now. Technology exists. There's a lot of, mitigating circumstances that would prevent anything like the Great Depression from happening again. That is an arguable point. It's not set in stone that a downturn in the U.S. market will result in something like the Great Depression, because it is a very different country, the United States, and the world is a very different world. But people are people, and people have to eat. And when they're standing at queues at banks in Cyprus, 5-6 years ago, trying to get their money out, and they couldn't, there were riots, right? When you have a tiny island like Cyprus causing riots over banking, in a place where largely the banks were used by foreign investors, and a huge chunk of them from Russia, by the way, that's a microcosm, a tiny version of the symptom of this sick system, which thinks that central banks should have the power to just invent money whenever they want and, pretend like they know what they're doing and just, control interest rates and inflation rates and basically create and destroy markets at their whim. And it's just generally, a tiny example of what could happen in places like London, Paris, Berlin, New York, Washington, Chicago, LA, Detroit, you name it. Think of any place in the civilized world, in the G8 countries, that might suddenly have a run on the banks for everyone to get their cash out and try to convert it to something else that might be useful, like gold or silver or oil or crypto or anything else. Well, why wouldn't they use crypto, right? Or why would they? Well, if it's all panic buying and there happens to be a new Bitcoin ETF around the corner, although I don't personally think it matters if there is or isn't, but if there happens to be one, and if it suddenly hits the market just around the time people start hearing rumors that the dollar might start to falter, yeah, you're hearing it now because you're obviously, ahead of the curve in the information you get. Keep in mind, 1% of the world really knows anything at all about blockchain or crypto. That means the other 99% really don't have a clue yet. If you live in a large metropolitan area, you might meet a bunch of people that know about crypto because you live in a large metropolitan area that's fully connected, socially engaged in technology and everything else. But if you go out even to just the suburbs, forget the sticks, and you go to some place where it's not all a bunch of techie people, just average folks, pretty much no one knows about it, right? And if you go to other countries where there's slightly less connectivity or whatever, it's pretty hard to find people who are deeply into this stuff. They're out there, obviously. It is global, right? Crypto is global, but it is a tiny little 1% global. That means that if you're already in, you're still an early adopter. You might not be an innovator of this stuff, you might not have invented this technology, but you're using it in the first decade of its existence on the market or whatever. That's early in the life of this particular venture called cryptocurrency and the blockchain. What does this mean as an investor? Is it too early to see any gains? Obviously not. Because if you would have invested 10 years ago, you would have seen massive, insane gains by now, right? If you would have invested even 5 years ago, you would have seen huge, many multiples, 100x or whatever, even 1,000x gains at some point. So, is it too late to invest? Well, no, I don't think so, because I don't think cryptocurrency or blockchain are going anywhere anytime soon. Oh, by the way, this must be said in every video. I am not a financial advisor. I am not giving you financial advice. I'm not selling you any financial stuff. This is just my opinions. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you find it useful in any other way, good for you. Just be sure to do your own research and don't invest in anything you don't understand, and take responsibility for your own investments and other actions. Okay, so just think. If the dollar starts to die, which it really already is if you just look at the trend lines, it's been the reserve currency for, 7 decades or something now. And it is showing cracks, it is showing signs of age. You're seeing things like people at the White House, even Mick Mulvaney saying, still standing up for Bitcoin, saying Bitcoin is good and it's the only currency that can't be corrupted by governments, which is arguable, but okay. If they buy the available supply, or if any other government buys the available supply. But again, I believe it is decentralized enough to withstand that, at least for now. And even if it's not, if it's a decentralized currency, by the way, if China, let's say, owns the majority of Bitcoin, it's bad, maybe. But if people, if it's just a currency, people are trading it neutrally. If China owns the majority of Bitcoin, that will just, which may or may not happen, whatever. But even if it did happen, that doesn't set aside their ambition to be the world's leading economic power. And that is something the U.S. does not need to fall victim to if it thinks that's a problem. The U.S. could also fight for that position of owning most of the Bitcoin. But right now, the U.S. regulators are focused in other areas and looking at different things. They're not looking at how to dominate the market as a government. And you could argue that's actually a good thing, right? So for those out there who are speculating conspiracies and whatever, I would say, I don't think so. I mean, look, if the government really wanted to have control of Bitcoin, it would have control of Bitcoin, right? The U.S. government. $100 billion, they could just buy it now. Just pay $200 billion, put a premium on it, make everyone happy. You're done, right? But that's not how it's going. And that's not how it's going to happen. Because they realize if they control this, something else will come up. If they put their hands on this. And the reason for that is very simple. The jig is up, right? Like, people are aware, at least in the crypto sphere, people are hyper aware of how the old way was done and how it is dysfunctional and how it can no longer be sustained. At least not for the long term. Something has to give. You can't have a situation of practically no inflation, no interest rate hikes. Yes, there's interest rate hikes, yes, but there's very low compared to previous decades. And you can't just sustain that forever and printing out cheap money and expect your economy to thrive. It doesn't work. You just print out cheaper and cheaper money, it loses value, eventually you lose power. If that's your economy, right? Or if that's the currency you use. So, where would that money go? Like I said earlier. Well, we'll discuss that when we come back after this quick message from our sponsor.
And now, a word from our sponsor, GetABlockchainWallet.com.
Hey folks, 'Tis the eve before Christmas, and all through the night, not a squirrel was stealing your nuts. Not a hacker of your crypto was in sight. And the reason for that is because you stored your money on a crypto hardware wallet. You know why? Because you're a smart crypto investor. You did that, right? Don't tell me you didn't do that. If you haven't put your money on a crypto wallet and you've invested in crypto of any kind, if you've spent more than a couple $100 on any kind of coin, and you think you're going to spend even in anything else, if you're going to put in $300 to this system of cryptocurrency, you should have a hardware wallet, unless you don't care about losing $300, right? But if you're going to spend $300 or more, if you're going to spend $1,000, definitely, or anything else above that, think about how much money you have in crypto. Do you really think it's safe to just leave it on whatever exchange you use? I'm not going to name any here because I don't want to get sued by any particular exchanges, but it is certainly fair to say that a number of exchanges, pretty much a lot of them, have been hacked, right? Crypto exchanges have been hacked, and it is very likely more will be hacked. So, and yes, there are some that have not been hacked. Kraken, I believe, is not hacked. Right? I believe that maybe, that's the only major one that I know of that has a sterling record for security. If there are others, don't hate me. Feel free to write it in the comments. I'd love to hear and know about any good exchanges that have never been hacked. I'd sure like to know that. Ones that have, real volume. And of course, if you're looking to put your money into crypto, you want to keep it safe. So that means having a crypto wallet, right? So either write down a paper wallet, you can print out a template, just go to getablockchainwallet.com and you can print out a crypto wallet for free. You don't put your numbers in there. You just fill in the information after you print out the templates. You fill in the information by hand and you make multiple copies of it with a non-memory photocopier. That's an old school device if you have one. Or you print it out on a device that's never connected to the internet and doesn't have any way to connect to the internet. No Wi-Fi, no nothing like that. No internet router on board or anything in your fancy printer. Use an old school inkjet or whatever printer that just is a dummy device, has no memory stored in it or anything like that. And clear out the cache if it does have anything like that. And you print out your paper wallet and you keep it safe, multiple locations, in multiple pieces, and then your information is secured. But guess what? That can be quite challenging for a lot of people. I understand that. I get it. Paper wallets are not always convenient. I love having paper wallets, but I also like having hardware wallets because they're way more convenient, right? There's a growing number of hardware wallets, right? It used to be just Trezor, and now it's Trezor and Ledger, and then there's KeepKey, and then there's Ecomi and Secure Wallet, and then there's what's it called? The Pundi X, right? And then there's No Short. I mean, and then there's the Coldlar wallet. So there's and it's growing and growing. I'm just seeing more and more hardware wallets coming up practically, all the time. There's even one now that's going to be built into, I believe it's the Samsung phone, either Samsung or Huawei or one of these phones. One of the major phone makers is coming out with a phone that has a cryptocurrency cold wallet built in. Right? In other words, it's a hardware wallet in your actual phone. It's not a software wallet in the phone. It's an actual hardware wallet. How they do that and separate it, it's kind of very technical, obviously, but they say they figured out a way to do that. It'll be very interesting to see how long it takes for anybody to try to hack such a system. But hey, if they figured out a way to store your cryptos securely in your phone, that's gonna be quite possibly a very popular wallet too. So to know all about these wallets, it's let's just say it can be challenging for a new user. And if you're new to crypto, first of all, welcome. But also make sure you secure your digital assets. So go to getablockchainwallet.com and read the reviews. They're independent. They're written about all the best features. They have how-to guides. They have step-by-step tutorials. They have all kinds of information there. And they have direct links to the actual official shops of all the actual wallets. So you buy them directly from the manufacturer as opposed to through the website where you read the reviews. So that is, the quickest and simplest way to be on top of your choices and your options. And there are differences in the wallets. So be sure to read the reviews in order to stay on top of what your best options are. And you can pretty much get wallets anywhere starting from like $69, $79 and up, all the way up to, some of them cost hundreds of dollars, even over $1,000. So it's important basically to really read good reviews about them to compare what the features are that you need versus what's on offer. I will say from personal experience that, actually Trezor, Ledger, and KeepKey are all wonderful wallets. They all really are strong. Ledger also can handle XRP natively. Trezor has the ability to let you do exchanges from crypto to crypto right on your wallet without having to send your money back and forth to another exchange. That is incredibly convenient. And KeepKey is very secure, maybe even a little too secure for the paranoid, but it's good. If you're paranoid, it's very good. It's high security. And all of them have additional features and accessories or, bells and whistles. So read about those on getablockchainwallet.com. And also make sure that you check out their holiday discounts because pretty much all of them are still offering discounts through the holidays. So we still got a couple days before Christmas and about 8 days till the end of the year. A week or so, 8 days. So get your purchases in before the end of the year because after, January 1st, all those prices will surely go up to their usual price. And then just like people who buy into the market out of FOMO, you'll be buying into the crypto wallet market too late when not too late, but once the prices have gone up to normal, which are still reasonable, but instead of paying, let's say, $99 right now, you might be paying $69 or $59 or who knows what the discount is. Just go to the various stores and you'll see them. So if you're going to get a crypto wallet, if you're giving anyone crypto for Christmas or Kwanzaa or hey, Festivus, hey, happy Festivus, everybody, be sure you give them that crypto nice and secure in a hardware wallet that you read about on getablockchainwallet.com, which reminds you to cover your assets.
And now, back to blockchain after dark.
So like I was saying, where would that money go? Where would all those dollars go? Yes, people are saying, ooh, these stock market is losing points. Market's going down. It's losing money. That wealth doesn't just disappear, right? Those market points are going down. Maybe those companies are losing money. Maybe a lot of retail investors are losing money because they're not aware of how or when to short sell or get out of their trades. But the smart money, the real wealth, the bulk of that money, it's not disappearing. It's not just going to a loss. They sold at the high. They've gotten out. And now they're looking for places to put their money. Where do you think they're going to put it? Are they going to put it in another form of a dying asset class in some local or foreign market? Or are they going to invest it in something new that may very well be the new form of money for the world? Are they going to invest it in something called a new emerging digital asset class? Or are they going to invest it in something that's dying and that they don't have any particular affinity for? Right? It's not something that's dying that they're emotionally attached to. Right? It's not some relative of theirs. It's a company on the stock market. What do they care? They're going to put their money where they know they can make more money. Look at the markets. Look at the crypto markets. They've crashed 90% for most of the altcoins, and some higher, 95%. Even Bitcoin's down. It was down like 85% at its low a week ago. 85%, right? If you're wealthy, anything under 3,000 for a Bitcoin is a bargain if you believe it's going to grow. Right? It hit 20 grand last year with just retail. It can certainly hit more when trillions of dollars of assets are set aside to invest in the crypto markets, which, by the way, those trillions of dollars apparently have been set aside for investing in crypto markets by the trading desks being set up at Fidelity, at ICE's backed, right, the crypto ETF, which ICE, again, owns the New York Stock Exchange, the world's biggest stock exchange. Could the stocks all go to hell? Could they all go to zero? Yes, and they will at some point in the future. Right? Fiat systems go to zero eventually because of inflation, because of interest rates, because of that whole system. So, are the ultra wealthy, who have a habit of being on the leading edge of ways to create, acquire, and retain wealth, are they going to sit around and watch their wealth go down the drain with old things that are going the way of the dinosaur? Or are they going to put it somewhere where they think that they have long-term potential for massive growth? Right? They're not worried about paying rent this month, next month, this year, or in the next decade, or ever in their life. They're not worried about paying the bills. They're worried about how large is their wealth going to grow. They have more than they need. Right? The good ones are donating chunks of their cash or their wealth to projects like Warren Buffett's philanthropy oath. I forget what it's called, the Givers or something like that. Whatever. In fact, the guy who is the CEO of Coinbase, Mr. Armstrong, just promised that he would give away the majority of his wealth too, following in the footsteps of the likes of Buffett and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and other luminaries of our times who are also industry titans who are, basically saying, listen, when you have more than you need to live, what are you going to do with all that? If you're not going to invest it in things that you're already doing, and they are investing in things with their money, the excess money, they believe in being charitable. Well, good for them. And I think that's great. I think there should be more of that. But the bottom line is, the ultra wealthy in general do not give away all their wealth. They like to stay wealthy. They like their inheritors to be wealthy. They don't want to give away everything they've worked for in their life. Why would they? It seems quite logical that if you're going to be investing vast fortunes into some new things or into things that will keep your wealth growing during down markets, during recessions, and possibly even during depressions, that you are going to hedge your investments. You are going to, put a little bit in things like gold and silver. Sure, even though they haven't had particularly the best runs either of late, and they're showing signs of potential dark roads ahead. But you're still going to want to own some precious metals because that is a very traditional form of investment assets. I get it. I get why people invest in that stuff. Again, just my opinion. But it's going to be very easy for the smart investor to say, okay, I'm going to put a certain portion, because right now the markets are so down in crypto, they don't have to put much. I'm going to put a certain portion of my money into crypto among, whatever basket of investments they're going to make in crypto. And essentially, they're doing that because they see the long-term future of it. And they're going to start coming in very heavy and very hard with all the marketing and everything else to sell these things as soon as the opportunity is right. And for example, with the ETF, that means it might be the end of February, it might be, who knows when that backed ETF is going to actually happen. They're saying it's going to be a bit of a delay from their January 24th deadline. It could still be in January, it might not be. It doesn't matter if it happens in January, February, March. There's a lot of things happening in early 2019 that are very good for the crypto economics in general. A lot of developments happening in tech, and also a lot of developments happening on the financial side, and the ability to market things in the crypto world. A lot of regulation being adopted, Israel is, very friendly in the sense of I wouldn't say very friendly, but they've given clarity, and they are friendly in a way to crypto investors, treating the investments, in a class of its own. Essentially, they've given clarity on what they intend to do with crypto for now, and the United Arab Emirates as well. They've given clarity on what they intend to do with ICO regulation, for example. So there's a growing number of, jurisdictions where crypto's future is becoming clearer, and it's clearer than ever that the governments are going to, have a position on it, and some are very friendly to it and some are not. And I guess that's all to be expected, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, when all of these markets go through the next cycle between now and the next 5-10 years, it's impossible, sure, for us to know which are going to be the winners and the losers, right? We can't just predict that right now. No. But you can watch the markets, you can be aware, be situationally aware, you might say, and then you could have, if you practice making estimations and marking them down and scoring yourself, you very well could have the ability to not predict the future, but to have a good idea of what are the most likely probabilities. So on that note, I want to thank everybody for listening, for joining in, for sharing. If you like this, then please click like. If you want to, hear more of these videos, watch more of these videos, click the subscribe button. If you want to get notifications, click that little notifications bell button. Definitely leave a comment though, and of course share this video with any of your friends or colleagues, anybody that you want to be aware of blockchain. And frankly, if you love somebody, you should let them know what are some of the potentially major things that are happening that you know about that they might not know that might be important to them. So tell them about blockchain, tell them about blockchain after dark, and until next time, be well.